Not the Chuddle.
Chuddle. Surprise.
I have a real soft spot for evil.
Blood flying everywhere.
So good.
I'm a big boy who doesn't get scared.
Out of the mist and into the fog, it's Chuddle the Pod.
Sup, y'all. Welcome to another episode of Chuddle the Pod, a horror movie club where movie lovers have a feel-good time. On this show, we dive into horror movies club style by asking and answering the same questions about a different movie every episode. We will warn you before we talk about spoilers, and on this episode, we are chuddling Perfect Blue.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, it worked out. It's anime month. This was one of the patron suggestions we got, and it had been on my watch list forever. I was uncertain about watching it because I'd heard about certain things, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But here we are. Perfect Blue. We got Ross. Ross is here.
Oh, hey.
Perfect. That's exactly what he says and
that
what
was
it
good.
sounds like. Brian,
Did I nail
are you
it?
here? Hey, Brian. Good to have you.
He is here.
He is absolutely
Thanks for
here.
having me.
See?
Now, before we continue, I must take this moment to thank our coven of patrons. Your sacrifice gives us life, and we thank your beautiful souls. Patrons get bonus episodes where we cover non-horror movies, we do mailbags, creepypasta, gnarly history, gnarly news, shuttle battles, all sorts of fun stuff. So if you're interested in extras or want to support, please do so. And
give it a
rate,
whirl.
review, tell your friends, all that good stuff. Now, with all club members present and accounted for, the coven avowed, it's time to crack open the goo book and officially begin tonight's meeting.
Give me that goo. Oh, yeah.
Starting with a party.
Let's do some lines.
We got our loglines and taglines, and I have not pulled them up. Oh my goodness, what terrible guy I am. All right, logline.
Aghast. Oh, here
A
you go.
pop singer gives up her career to become an actress, but she slowly goes insane when she starts being stalked by an obsessive fan and what seems to be a ghost of her past. Well done, IMDb.
Yeah.
That's like one of the best
That's
ones I've
great.
ever heard.
Yeah.
Especially for a movie that's really hard to contain in like a couple sentences.
Absolutely. No, that one seems like a person actually wrote that.
Right.
That actually that watched the movie.
A person who knows who's written sentences before.
Yes, absolutely.
And then we got our taglines. The color of illusion is perfect blue. That's the Japanese tagline.
Okay, I like that. Mysterious.
And then this tagline, I don't know where it's from. I guess there's only one more, and it's "Excuse me, ... Who are you?" So
I like that one a lot.
Wait, does it intrigue you? Would you be like, I'm Ross Purvis. Who
Yeah.
are you?
Who are you, poster?
Cool, fun. We did it. Up next, we have movies are made by people. The people that made this movie are. It was written and directed by Satoshi Kon, based on a book by... I'll get to it. I have it somewhere else because it has two other writers in the notes, which are Yoshikazu Takeuchi and Sadayuki Murai. And voice actors. Before I start listing off names, do you guys know anybody in this movie from anything else?
No, I don't.
So we got Mima Kirigoe is voiced by Junko Iwao. Rumi voiced by Rika Matsumoto. Tarukoro is voiced by Shinpachi Tsuji. There's plenty of other characters. I'm not going to go into them.
I'm not even going to talk about that.
That's like our main girl and her two management people. So, for who made this movie, Satoshi Kon, I had not seen any of his movies until I watched this, but I have now watched his other 3 movies.
And then you went on a deep dive.
Yeah, he passed away, before he could make anything else. He was relatively young. He died. So, but I recommend them all. None of the other ones are horror in any way, but they're all very good. I think it's time to check the clock and see if it stopped on the thing.
It's time for the Gore.
Fatality.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Psycho to the Sadness, how gory is this film? 1 to 5 consistency, 1 to 5 intensity. What do we got?
Okay, well, I'm going to say this is the goriest of the films that we have covered in anime
Probably, yeah.
block.
Interestingly enough, yeah.
Interestingly enough, and even there's bouts of it that, okay, I'm going to say with consistency, it's not super crazy. I would say consistency is maybe like a 2. And then I would give intensity maybe like a 3, maybe 3.5. I mean, like you do get some aftermath and some, you know what I mean? But a lot of it is masked. And then you kind of have this weird brain fusion confusion going on too. So like it kind of, I feel like it's not like a buffer for it. So what would it be, like a 5.5 for me?
Okay. Yeah, I was going to go 1.5 for consistency and a 2.5 for intensity for a 4.
Yeah, that sounds good. A 1.5. Yeah, I don't feel like there's much of it. Yeah, I can't. I can think of when it is, but yeah.
Yeah.
Not much.
I tend to overshoot the gore scores.
You do. For the one who always demands more gore, you also think there's more gore than we do.
Yeah. But I still want more.
Who is the horror forward?
All right. This is the part where we ask a few questions before we really get into everything, starting with this. What subgenres does it fall into?
I mean, obviously animated horror, animated like psychological
horror. Yeah.
I honestly,
sort of a whodunit thing to it. It's got a giallo feel.
You literally took the words out of my mouth. This is kind of it's an anime giallo to me, where it's like, if you like that, then this is going to be trippy up your alley.
Yeah. The reality bending.
Yes. Yeah. If you like mind games.
What kind of environment is best to watch this?
I don't think a party environment, to be totally honest with you. There's so much going on.
I agree.
I would say independent watch or movie heads, if everybody is cool with the pre-warnings about this movie.
Yeah, I think it's a movie that you watch. No fun to be had. I mean, there is. I in a weird way, I'd be happy if it was like on in the background at a bar, which is something we've brought up before. But generally, it's certainly not a party movie.
Yeah, it's funny because I've said that about most giallos we've watched. I think
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. There's something psychological going on there. Is it for beginners?
Oh man, this is a tough one. I was struggling with this question while on my second watch. I don't think so. I think that like it's trippy enough and not. I mean, there are some horror aspects to it, obviously, but it is. It's really heady.
Yeah,
figuratively and literally. You know what I mean? Where so like
if you're sort of a cinephile who hasn't seen horror, I guess it would work, but you need to like know the language of film in a way. Yeah. So I mean, like, it would be one hell of a first exposure to psychological horror movies and also anime. Oh man, yeah. But I would agree in general. No, I wouldn't recommend this to a beginner.
No.
And last, should you know anything about going into it? That's tough. I think you need to know that it's like a real movie and has a lot going on. I don't know how to describe it. Like I guess something you should know ahead of time. If you're just going into it purely as a horror movie, you might be a little disappointed. I think
absolutely. I think this movie blends a few different like. It is mystery. It's a very big mystery with nods of horror. and then kind of like true crimey kind of stuff going on as well. I think it plays to a bunch of different genres, but if you're going in this specifically for a horror movie, it will be a little lackluster for you.
Yeah. I think it certainly could be. Okay, fapping in. It's the Mothman, Harbinger of Doom, coming here with our trigger warnings. What's he got to tell us?
Coming on in.
Sexual assault and rape.
Yes.
Grape, I believe they call it, the kids.
Yes, on
Yes.
TikTok. Essay and grape.
Essay and grape. Yeah, it's
I hate everything.
It is definitely there. I think that when people have warned me about this,
I agree.
It's a little. I think the warning's a little heavy. You know what I mean? And I'm all for
It contains
people giving me warning. It
I guess
contains
nice to
it,
know.
but in a world of like,
we'll talk about it. In a world of anime, when you hear that word, you think
of
it's going to be real bad. Yeah,
really bad, pretty intense. And I think in this one, it is there, but it is not as.
We'll talk about it.
It's there. It's there.
It is there.
It's there. That's what you need to know.
It'll come up. Other than that, I don't think there's.
And then, I mean, yeah, if you have stalking, obviously, all that, any kind of, that whole aspect of it. I mean, well, yeah, that kind of covers it. A lot of those big kind of triggers
the big
associated with that. Yeah.
Right. All right. Well, let's buckle up and do the damn thing.
Spoiler zone.
Starting with IMDb behind the scenes. So I actually did enough research on here that on this movie that I'm going to be adding a lot of my own flavor as we go throughout things.
Ooh.
But this first one is IMDb behind the scene.
Okay. And then are the other ones just going to be the Sam selections?
I suppose so. I was surprised that I knew more than IMDb gave me by the time I got to it.
Okay. Right.
The film was originally conceived as a live-action feature, but became an anime when several backers abruptly pulled out in pre-production.
Interesting.
And then what's funny about that, which IMDb doesn't have, is I know that it was originally going to be an OVA, which over there I guess is like a direct-to-video, like straight-to-VHS movie. Mm-hmm. And so it was made with that intent, and then when it was done, I guess they thought it was good enough to release it theatrically. And that's kind of how that played out. But they don't have any of that on IMDb.
Especially for this kind of movie, it's kind of interesting with the intent of like, all right, this is going to go straight to video. So I feel like they probably took more liberties with certain things while making it.
It'll come up.
And and then being like, we can show this on a screen. I wonder what their initial reaction was like. Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll get there. The choreography from Cham in the beginning is not completely in unison, and that was intentional to keep the realism of the film.
Nice.
The film is based on the 1991 novel Perfect Blue: Complete Metamorphosis by Yoshikazu Takuchi. The novel's sequel, Perfect Blue: Awakened from a Dream, was released in 1995, 2 years before the film was released. Satoshi Kon was allowed to deviate from the original story. As long as it contained an idol singer and a stalker, he could do anything else. So they actually don't have that much in common. And it just kind of kept the title even because he liked it. The film's original 35mm camera negative was accidentally destroyed. As a result, all copies are sourced from lower quality prints.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which is
interesting. Yeah.
Interesting and kind of a bummer.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with now being able to do like digital restoration and scanning, I guess it's, but that's gotta suck.
Fine enough,
just
but
gone. Yeah, just gone forever.
American pop legend Madonna used extensive selections from this film as a backdrop during a dance interlude on Drowned World Tour in 2001. You can see snippets from this on her concert film from that tour. The film is in the official top 250 narrative feature films on Letterboxd. It is number 66 on the top 200 narrative features on Letterboxd. On Letterboxd top 250 horror movies, it is the number 1 rated horror movie by users.
Dang.
Yeah. At around 56 minutes, the big body pizza box in the infamous stabbing scene gets a few chuckles from English-speaking speakers thinking it's about the food's content or a allusion to Big Boy Pizza, but it's actually an homage to a musician who would later become the composer for the rest of Satoshi Kon's work.
Ooh.
Okay. Who picked it, history, and why? We picked it from patron suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
Our history was that no one had seen this before.
Yeah.
I was the first one to watch it. I had been hesitant. I wanted to see if I felt comfortable talking about the movie, knowing that there was rape scenes in it that I'd heard about. And again, being anime, I was like, oh, this could be like really, really bad.
Oh, totally.
So I watched it and was like, I think we could do it. And then I felt kind of almost a little dumb and like I wasn't quite getting the movie after my first watch. So that's what really hooked me in, because then I was like, what's going on here? And
we do appreciate you
two
being
more times
the
before this. Watched the other 3 Satoshi Kon movies. Watched Black Swan, all because of this movie. Got the Steelbook.
Wow, you went the whole gauntlet. We do appreciate you being the canary in the coal mine for this viewing first.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Honestly, say I'd heard about this and how not Red Band, but kind of just like, this is just pretty intense, man. And so this was my first viewing of it, and kind of like we said, yes, it is there. I think that I think the overhype of the trigger warning for me when the actual scenes happen, and we're going to get to it, but it's like, oh, okay, all right. I was expecting astronomically worse. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I don't know if that's like,
it's still awful and it's uncomfortable,
it is,
but it's
very uncomfortable.
It's still rated so highly for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
Not enough to completely ruin it.
Yes.
My history? Is that where we're at?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just watched it recently for the podcast. So I was interested in like, I don't know how I would have felt if I like watched it when I first knew about it when I was however long ago, ages ago.
Yeah.
Because I knew about it whenever I was into anime. But yeah, the content was always, I guess, what kept the idea of it kept me away. But as you guys mentioned before, it's, to us anyways, it's not as bad as what was in our minds. So I think
yes, which honestly was a pleasant surprise for the film, because I think that I was preparing myself for like the scenes, you know what I mean? Right. And then where it's like, okay, all right, this is contextually I can understand. But yeah, no, it's I'm actually really excited to get into his other movies after seeing this. And the fact that you said it was a live action, like it was supposed to be a live action film, there are a bunch of sequences in this that I'm like, wow, this feels like I'm just like, this could be one of those take on me moments where like it's anime and then they turn a corner and it's live action. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Darren Aronofsky straight up lifted a shot from this movie in Requiem for a Dream.
Yes, he did.
It syncs up perfectly and everything, like the cuts. It's wild. I'll mention it when we get there. But I think with all said and done, we're going to start talking through this movie.
Yeah.
We open on some Power Rangers type thing, doing a live show at like a amphitheater by a mall type of deal.
Yeah.
And we see groups of men around talking about they're excited for Cham and Mima outside the show. And some of those characters we see throughout the movie. Now, real quick, I watched the lecture series or something it was called, from Satoshi Kon on this, and he talked about, he was like, so because it was supposed to be OVA direct to video, he put the Power Ranger thing as the first thing you see. It's all of like 5 seconds maybe, but because he wanted people who rented it to think that they got the wrong tape. It was like a fun little release joke, I guess.
I like that a lot.
But he also is like, notice that they're red, green, and blue. And after he said that, I was like, God damn, just about everything in this movie is red, green, or blue. Like those are the only colors for the most part. There's a purple dress at one point. Otherwise, it's all different shades of those 3 colors. Also, he said, and notice they're wearing masks in this movie is about how people are perceived. And like he had so much to say about this one moment. I'm going to tell you even more. The bad guy that they're defeating, he gave that guy his own name and said he was like a bug king and that could take over things and send bugs out and bother you. And they were defeating him. And that Mima has her own bugs in her life that she's trying to destroy. And he was like, now I wouldn't expect anybody to get that, but I put that in there for me, making the movie. It's like, holy smokes. And then especially rewatching it and being like, that moment is about 5 seconds long.
Yeah. But when you're doing a direct to video, you kind of get to do what you want.
Mm-hmm. So we see all the Cham fans getting ready. Cham gets ready to perform, comes out on stage, and title card, Perfect Blue.
Perfect Blue.
Which I enjoy. It's nothing like particularly dazzling, but there's just something about the feel to it that I enjoy, the way we get our title card.
Mm-hmm.
Cham performs to pretty much all men, taking pictures of them and recording them while they're performing, which is intercut with Mima riding the train, doing some grocery shopping, just everyday life stuff. Seems like when she's not on stage, nobody really knows or cares about who she is. Mm-hmm. Certainly not fabulously wealthy or anything. She's performing in like a mall. There's a group of ruffians that start heckling Cham from the back. And
no, these guys again.
Yeah. There's so Mima's agents, it seems like she has like an acting agent and a music agent, and they're arguing. It cuts to them arguing about if she should focus on acting or singing. There's a super creepy guy in the audience watching Mima dance, and he sort of lifts up and watches her dancing in the palm of his hand.
In my hand.
And it's a real cool shot and also super creepy, and literally holding her in the palm of his hand.
I have a question for you guys. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this is intentional from the animators or not. I call them deer people. Is that like the
wide set eye thing?
Yes.
I think it is intentional.
Absurdly wide. Where to the point where like there would be certain moments where I was watching this where like, because everything else is so properly animated that seeing that where I was like, is it an artistic thing to show ugliness? Is that how he's illustrating how ugly people look? You know what I mean? Or like
I took it as he has some sort of deformity of sorts.
The Rumi has wide set eyes too.
There's 3 characters. Like she doesn't have it as
him for sure though, because he's got his eyes like bulged out kind of and weird. I thought maybe he had a mental something.
Yeah, him he like has like a deformity or something like that because that like it's like very very elongated. But then there's also like the assistant manager for the talent group, and then the photographer also has a very
Does he have
similar,
the wide set eyes too?
Yes. And like it's selective which characters it is, so I don't know if it's like a stylistic thing just to like I don't know.
I think a lot of them
me.
I think it's very intentional. And I think a lot of the men in this movie are animated ugly. Intentionally.
Yeah.
So he's watching her in the palm of the hand when a can flies and it distracts him, and it's those ruffians in the back, and this creep goes back there and fights the hecklers in the crowd, and they start fighting the crowd back and forth until Mima gets on the mic and calms the crowd down. The hecklers leave.
Everyone.
Mima and creep have eye contact, and then Mima announces she is leaving Cham to be an actress. Then we get that group of fan men saying that, basically commenting on her career shift, and more shots of Mima's mundane life. She leaves the stage door of the show and is surrounded on her way to the car where she's handed a note, and gets in the car. She hears someone say, I'm always watching Mima's room. Yeah. Gets home, and the first thing she says is, yuck, this cheese has gone bad already. Then she apologizes to the fish for forgetting to feed them. Her apartment is small as fuck.
It is.
I mean,
that's actually a king size Japanese apartment. Like, it's.
I was gonna say, yes, it's small, but it is like Japanese apartments are typically pretty small.
I guess small because what we think of when we think of like a pop idol or a pop star wouldn't be living in a place like this.
That's also super interesting to me, is that like the idea of these idol bands, and there's like hundreds of them. You know what I mean?
Just
Where, in fact, there's like trying to break through, and like there's a ranking system and all that kind of stuff. And I realized, was this like 98, right?
It's 97.
97. Okay, so even better. I mean, like this was also like America was getting of boy bands and things like that too. But like, because pop idols in Japan is still just is a huge thing to this day, right?
Right, and it seems like also in this movie, and I don't know how exaggerated it is, but pop idols also have to have a certain image, like a virginal, pure thing to be a pop idol.
That would make sense. Yeah, because I mean, like you're appealing to kids, and you know what I mean. Like it would make sense to have more of a squeaky cleaner.
I mean, certainly, yes. This version of a pop idol that they're trying to present, yeah.
Oh, totally.
She's trying to be.
Yeah, I don't know why, but Cham, the only comparison I could think of was to O-Town, because I was trying to think of like some group I had heard of but never actually was big. They were, just playing malls trying to get a hit. She's in her small apartment. She takes down her Cham poster. She's going through her notes, and then she gets to the one that she was handed and says some things, including, I'm always looking into Mima's room. Here's a link to Mima's room. And she immediately, quite what I would think is like someone's looking into her room. Like,
yes. Yeah.
She gets a call from her mom, who scolds her for quitting Cham, and then gets a call that's a heavy breather. Mima then gets a fax with the word traitor written all over it.
Traitor. It is kind of an interesting, because the mom does allude to the fact where it's like, hey, like your dream was to sing. Like you are a singer. You're doing it. It may not be the life that you thought it was going to be, but you are living your dream and working for that. And I like this. She's like, no, I want to act. I want to do this.
Right. It's one of the few times we hear her express it where it doesn't seem like she's being pushed into it, because she's just talking to her mom. On set, she talks to her agent, Rumi, about the note, and Rumi explains the internet to her.
I audibly laughed out loud. The internet? The internet is this. And she's like, I don't understand it all.
That? That's the thing I've heard about.
Yeah.
So that's a fun moment that, certainly wouldn't happen now. The show she's on seems to be some sort of procedural cop show type thing, but also with a season-long story and not episodic. And Mima has one line. She's worried about it. She sees the weirdo lurking in the shadows on set. A muckety muck, like had a network or something. I'm not really sure who he is. And the writer are walking around the set.
It is funny to me when this guy shows up that I feel like part of this has to be in her head, which it isn't, because he is stalking her. But like when you make him so physically big and also deformed, it's kind of, to me, funny, because he's not an innocuous character, as in like he's
right. I wonder how
much of it is in her head.
Yeah, I have wondered that, because they certainly play with that idea.
Yeah.
But then at the end, it seems like he certainly is real. So it's hard to say. So big wig and writer are walking around. The acting agent, Takakuro, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Who's been pushing for Mima's acting career, tells the writer that she needs a bigger role. Writer says it's hard because she's a pop idol. And he's like, no, not anymore. She's going to be an actor now and not be a pop idol.
There you go.
And then he accepts fan mail on Mima's behalf, opens it, and it explodes.
What? And like maims his hand and shit.
Yeah, and it looks like later we don't see a neck wound, but it looks like it gets him in the neck when it happens too.
It's either that or like viscera splatter because his hand's covered in blood, which also is one of these like hard stop thing. There's a few real like hard stop pump the brakes where and I guess it's supposed to be kind of like snowballing, kind of like true. But it's also like having that note about a website that seems like it's about stalking you and being in your bedroom, and then also getting a piece of fan mail that maims your manager.
Right.
Like I feel like these things shouldn't have been as glazed over.
And you got a fax that said traitor. And you've seen this guy around. You saw him at your show. You made eye contact with him, and now you saw him for a moment on set.
Yes. Also, like, Giallo in the best ways vibes. Like this movie to me, without jumping the sharp too much, is almost an accumulation of like Deep Red and opera in this really weird anime twisty mind fuck version of both.
Yeah, I can see that. Deep Red, Perfect Blue, baby.
And then we just have to get a green Giallo. Then we'll have
red, blue, green room. No. Green. We'll make our own.
Yeah, I mean, if we just want to throw in a cannibal film, they also have Green Inferno, so we just do that.
Yeah, that's Italian inspired.
Exactly. Yeah.
Mima reads a scrap from the paper from the explosion, and the scrap paper says, "This is a warning. The next one is real." Yikes.
It's like, that's the warning? Like the one that still blew, it's still blew up.
It's a maimer.
It's a maimer.
Yeah, trying to maim Mima. I mean, if Mima had gotten that, what would that have done to her career? Probably, right. Who knows? Might not have been able to come back to pop idolatry. Back in Mima's room, Rumi got her a computer and is helping her connect it to the internet. So, this... On my third watch, I was like, how much of this... So, we're in the spoiler zone. I'm going to spoil, the end here, that Rumi... A lot of her psychosis and different things with the killer, it's kind of all being orchestrated by Rumi, who has a split personality where she thinks she's the real Mima. Yeah. And I wonder how much of that orchestrating starts here, because she tells her what Mima's room is, gets her a computer, gets her on there, takes her to that site. Like, is this... Yeah. Well, it's like meeting... It's the Rumi personality, so is it intentional or not intentional?
I think part of it might be intentional, or honestly, it could be like a ignition point where it's like Rumi helps her get to the website, realizes what the website is, and then starts using... Because it seems like the stalker / killer is the web host of this and is the one who is stalking and doing all this, right? Mm-hmm. So then I think Rumi realizes what it is and then uses it to her advantage. Mm-hmm. I feel like the stalking shit was...
This was like her onboarding to this plan as well.
Yeah, right? Where she sees what's going on and goes, oh, this guy is using this site. Why don't I use him to... You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is more of like a weird by happenstance.
Sure. Internet really messing things up.
Yeah, out the gate. She doesn't even know what the internet is. This is also what's fucking me up. This is the first website that she's ever gone to is a website about herself. That's a fucking diary about everything about her life to like what foot she steps off of on the train. Mm-hmm. I would have shit my pants if I had come across a website like that.
Doesn't seem to bother her too much.
She's more like flattered. Yeah. Which I think is also kind of an interesting sub plot throughout this entire thing is like her, I guess for a better choice of words, her endurance, as in like she wants to be an actress and she wants to be famous and she wants to have the limelight, but to like what degree? As in like if you had a website that was dedicated to you like that, I feel like it would be more repulsion than let me check. You know what I mean?
Like what are you willing to put yourself through for the things you want? And that comes up a lot in this.
Yeah.
You know, the big scene we've been referring to is voluntary. We'll get there.
Yeah.
She once again explains the internet, and this time a computer, and how to use it. You double clip. No, click.
What?
Who said anything about a clip? Like real basic computer shit.
Yeah.
Later, alone in her room, Mima visits the website Mima's Room. There's a diary about her that seems to know everything about her life. She clearly has a stalker. The website has a suite of her one line. Oh, a clip of her one line. It was her one line on the show was like, "Excuse me" or something. And it has a audio clip. Yeah. On the website. And even though the show's not even out yet, they have her one line of dialogue available to listen to.
Which also, like, my fucking spidey senses would be tingling. That means that person was in the room while you were saying the line within earshot of you. It's like, oh no, dude.
Not good.
Not good. Like, this is not the kind of fandom you want.
No, but, you know, when you're young and hungry, you ignore a lot of red flags. Young bulls chase red flags. Now we're back in the reality of the TV show that she's on, investigating another victim. So there's this weird meta thing. This happens a lot where it jumps to the TV show, but you don't know you're in the TV show yet. And a lot of what's happening in the TV show parallels what's happening in the reality of the movie. So sometimes you're uncertain where you are.
Yeah. And this is one of the first initial scenes where you're kind of like dipping your toe into it.
Right.
As in, like, because you're clearly been introduced to these actors, and the actors are kind of going through the motions of what's on the television show. But then that line really starts to erode as you kind of get through, as the movie progresses.
It sure does.
Is it not? Is this real? Who am I? Who is us?
Then we go back to Rumi and who is the music agent, and Mr. Takakuro, I think it was. In my notes, I have him as acting pusher because they don't say his name much, and that's pretty much all he does.
Acting pusher.
Yeah.
He's the pusher man.
He and Rumi argue about whether or not Mima made the right decision, and says the show that she's on, Double Bind, isn't using her enough. Then we once again have these fan men commenting on Mima's career, and they're not only a plot device to just sort of talk about what's happening in the reality of the movie, but they also, I guess, are a commentary on that like parasocial relationship people have with celebrities.
I called them the MacGuffin crew, because they're basically just kind of like, oh yeah, this. So like, you know, maybe she's upset about this. And then like, it's always with an earshot of like the
creepy guy. Yeah. Because the stuff they say here, he overhears. Now Mima rides the train and stops before she leaves, remembering what the blog said about which foot to exit with.
Even down to the brand of fucking milk she drinks.
Yeah. And as she's like kind of hesitating to get off the train, she gets pushed off, and she runs out and has a mini panic attack out there, out of the station on the street, and then walks by a store, and the store has a bunch of cameras displaying her, a bunch of different versions of her on the screen.
Yeah.
Because this whole movie is like littered with reflections and cameras and multiple versions of people, because it's all about persona and
perspective,
who you want to be, who people think you are, how society tries to control who you are based on your wants and what you're trying to do versus what you actually want. And so there's just a small little thing. They're like, you know what? She's got to walk by something. Let's make it cameras and TVs. And I love that. Mima goes through the crowd into her agent's office. There's like a crowd outside there waiting for pop stars, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And she gets into the elevator where there's a newspaper clipping taped to the elevator wall, where someone was in critical condition of a hit and run. And I'm guessing that's supposed to be one of the hecklers from the mall in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the one that made the most ruckus upon leaving.
That's what I thought. And as the elevator doors close, she sees the creep smiling at her. They make eye contact again. She goes upstairs. Turns out Cham's doing just fine without Mima. They've charted for the first time. They're at like 83 or something on the charts, and they never had a top 100 song before.
They're popping champagne, baby.
Well, they're not popping champagne. Or maybe they are as well, because it's also intercut with Mima and Cham popping champagne, celebrating like their first single.
Yes.
So it's a little confusing.
Again,
like a lot
tiny
of this.
whiny.
Yeah, exactly. Mima walks down the street and a man harasses her about, hey, maybe you need an agent. You could be a model. But that's not happening. That's just part of the TV show.
Yes.
Not reality. The writer has come up with something for Mima's character, but it's extreme. It's a rape scene. Rumi's like, no way, I'm going to get that changed. The acting pusher pushes. Mima agrees to do it as they're arguing. She's like, you know what? I'll do it. Also, the actor pusher says something about, just like Jodie, what's her name? And he's referring to Jodie Foster in The Accused.
Mm-hmm.
Must have a rape scene in that movie.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because like Rumi's super upset about it because not only she's realizing that like it's going to irreparably, in her eyes,
she won't be able to go back to being a pop idol.
Exactly. Like this is the stop that you cannot, the threshold that you can't come back from. So like if you do this, then any idea about falling back on music is not going to happen.
And she doesn't even really want to do it, but she does want to prove that she's serious about acting, so she agrees to it. Rumi is disappointed that Mima agreed. On the train ride home, Mima's reflection turns into the pop idol. It's the first time this happens, and says...
It's like a hallucination.
It's like a hallucination. Mima, idol.
Idol.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll figure it out.
The pop idol's reflection says, I absolutely refuse to do it. Now we're at the rape scene.
Yeah.
So it's a scene in the TV show. In this scene, she's dancing in a nightclub and the patrons
rush the stage.
Too crazy. They like attack whoever would have protected her. And here's what happens. She's dancing at a club when the audience grabs her and a man starts to rape her. They call cut and tell them to hold their places. And that something about it that really adds to the...
Well, it's just surreal
nature of it.
Yes. Yeah. Because I think whenever you're dealing with this kind of subject matter, it's touchy and it's weird. And when it's just awkward, and it adds more of the awkwardness when it's paused because it is part of this production, part of this thing. I mean, as the guy literally is on top of her, goes like, I am so sorry.
Yeah, he says, I'm really sorry about this.
And
she says, oh no, it's all right.
Yeah. She goes, I'm cool. And then like also having the producer's box and like the people behind the scenes where like the management is literally like cringing watching it. Mm-hmm. And like no one is stoked about what's going on, which is kind of a really interesting atmosphere where it's like even the people that are making this are feeling highly uncomfortable while this is going on.
Mm-hmm. And what's interesting is that, I mean, they're just doing it to be exploitative for sure.
100%.
And it's like, you know, if you want to leave your pop stardom, you gotta get raped then. Like it is. Yeah. It's
like, it's such a weird, especially how her handlers take it and how the screenwriter writes it. You can tell that they're all kind of just like, it's for the shock value and the most of it. And she's
to get eyeballs.
And then she's just collateral damage in this. And in a way where she wanted to gradually separate herself from music. This is like the atomic bomb version of just like decimating her musical career.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like it's a different kind of finality that she talks about, where she's like, she says she doesn't want, like later she of course I didn't want to do it, where it's like this is such a huge pivotal shift for her that even like I don't know, that is on top of everything going on is such an uncomfortable concept to kind of grasp, like especially since like this is just acted out, you know?
Right. And so they call action and start actually doing the rape part, but cut because the guy doesn't unzip his pants fast enough. So they have to reset back to positions and action. And this is tough. This does go on a bit longer than it needs to,
yes.
To the point where it really starts to feel like a real rape scene. She like goes from screaming to just like zoning out and staring at the ceiling. It's tough. Rumi leaves the director's room in tears.
Mm.
Mima starts to leave her body, so to speak, and imagines a cheering crowd as a pop idol. So interesting. And with the meta nature of the stuff between the show and reality in here, because this was going to be an OVA originally, it did go on a bit, like Satoshi Kon kind of did have it go on a bit too long to be exploitative to get more eyeballs on it. Because it was just going to be a movie on a shelf in the video store. And he said when he saw this in theaters, he like ended up putting his head down before the scene was over. So I guess he probably would have handled it differently. I think it's still important because it's also, you know, like just about the control these other people have over her.
Yeah. It's such a weird dichotomy. I mean, it is kind of interesting how like art, life imitating art in that fact where like he literally had it long enough to be exploitive when the whole purpose of what's going on in the movie is to exploit.
Be exploitative. And I would say, or the show within the movie is to be exploitative. And I think the movie is supposed to be saying that kind of exploitation is bad, but then they ended up doing it themselves.
They wind up doing the same thing, you know. And again, it's not like it's I spit on your grave intense, or you know, or in its duration or longevity, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it's still, even it's like even having all of this, it just was too. It was
even knowing it's not even happening in the reality of the movie.
Yes, yes, like them just acting it. I think it's just this like, oh, wow, God damn it.
Mm-hmm. So the scene's over. She gets a ride home from the actor pusher. Rumi is not around, but he clearly feels guilty. Can't really express it. He's going to say something, but he can't. So he just offers to treat her to a delicious meal. And as they leave, they drive past the creep guy. Mm-hmm. Now Mima is home and her fish are dead.
Now... See, this is also fucking weird because it's like, is it a time thing? Now, it's not a time thing. I feel like this part is like that someone broke in. I'm assuming her assistant management came in and was so distraught that she killed her fish. But it's like, there's certain aspects. I think it's like the precursor catalyst to like, what day is it? What week is it? Like, what is going on? Like, I think it's like, I don't know. It's pretense of just like they were poisoned or overfed or whatever. But I'm also like, was she gone for like a month?
Yeah, I think it was that she was not there and didn't feed him, or like forgot to feed him, or, you know, she's just blanking out. The first thing she says the first time she's in there is, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to feed you guys. And she has like old food in the fridge. So I think it's kind of already, her negligence has already started. I took it completely from negligence is what I thought.
What do you guys think? Who killed fish?
Yeah, who killed fish? Who is fish?
Who is fish even?
She freaks out and cries that, of course, she didn't want to do it, but those people expect so much from her. Then her pop idol persona is in the mirror telling her, I told you so. We're back to Mima's room, like the blog area. And then we see who's writing the blog, and surprise, surprise, we already mentioned it. It's written by the creepy stalker.
Yep.
Then we're back to the group of fans reading reviews or interviews with her and commenting on her career. And now they're kind of making fun of her. And making fun of Mima fans now that she's doing this acting thing and not part of the pop idol culture.
Yeah.
Mima is,
which is so, I know it's not a fucking thing, but to me, it's like they create this like West Side Story between actors and musicians that I find just really funny. Like, I feel like they're making it in my head where it's like, well, I mean, like now she's an actor, so like fucking what a piece of shit. Where it's like you have movie fans and then music fans that just like fight in the streets. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I don't. Well, they make it sound like it's such a weird polarizing.
Yeah, and that's what. And I'm sure it'll come up when we read his review. But Tibu was like, "Why can't she just do both?" But
yes, right.
So they make a small excuse for that, but I think it's maybe a cultural thing or societal. I don't know, because I think the real reason is in order to be that pop idol, you have to like have a certain persona and brand, and when you can't break out of that in any way.
Things before the internet were so weird, man.
Well, around the internet.
Yes, it's a birthing of the internet. Yeah.
Mima is reading the Mima's Room blog, and it's taken a turn. Now it's claiming she was forced to do the rape scene, and it's no longer, before it was kind of uncanny that it was really matching up with Mima and her thoughts, and now it's like, wait, this is not what I would.
Now it's starting to
say. Now she's arguing with her pop idol persona. Pop idol tells her she will be in the light and Mima will be in the shadows now that Mima is tarnished, and jumps out of the window and skips across lampposts. Cool visual.
It's a very cool visual. I'm so curious on. I hate to keep on continuously stalling your script.
There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot. Yeah, it's just because I think the intent personally was having the three people having the same psychosis about the same idealistic version of her. You know what I mean? Like, that's why she's seeing it jipping around buildings. Why later scenes where the stalker is like having it whisper in his ear, and then like the physical mirror representation later, you know what I mean, of this. But God, wouldn't it be weird, like a supernatural horror movie, if like some weird entity just tied onto it and was manipulating all three of them simultaneously?
I mean,
it's plausible.
It could be.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a way you could definitively say that's not what happened. Other than there's no real allusions to it, but take what you like. The writer arrives in the parking garage. Oh, I love this scene. So the writer arrives in a parking garage. As he backs into his space, there's a bloody double-bind paper taped over his name. Then he hears the Cham song from the beginning in the garage for a second. Not sure where it's coming from.
Also, the song is a little pushy too, where it's like, if you want the love, you gotta be more aggressive. Get what you want. It's like, oh no. This guy, this stalker's gonna take that. But I should be more aggressive.
It's some interesting lyrics in there, and I wonder if that has anything to do with. I'm sure it's cultural as well. Like what would be expected in these types of songs. Either we're getting what is absolutely totally normal for that, or not. And I don't know.
If anybody listening is into Japanese idols and music stuff like that, mid 90s, let us know. I genuinely want to know.
So he hears the song, stops, hears it again, and then the elevator arrives, and the music he has been hearing is coming from a boombox inside the elevator. The elevator floor is a deep red. Cut to 5th floor, the elevator door opens, and the writer is dead and bloody with his eyes gouged out. I love the look of this when those doors open
and it's just like the eyes out, and then the body falling forward and just slumping is just like so good. There's so many of these where I'm like, wow, like this would have been an amazing live action film.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. The fan men, the guys who comment on her career, they read about the murder and talk about the Mima's Room website. Now they're hip to the fact that it exists. The actor pusher tells Mima that the letter bomb and the murder aren't connected. Don't worry about it. And she sees her pop idol self go by in another car and gets out of her car. But, she loses her, can't keep up.
Yeah.
Now Mima is doing a photo shoot where the photographer is taking nude photos of her, and this is intercut with a Cham performance, again, to an all-male crowd who's taking photos. So Cham's getting their photos taken while they're performing, and she's getting her photo taken while naked.
Yeah.
It's all still like voyeurism still, and viewing people through a lens.
Well, it's also kind of how, even in that scenario where like she's taking photos and they're getting like, as the scene's progressing, they're getting a little more seductive and kind of like less clothing and like a little more risque. And then same thing, it gets to this like threshold, because this is also the same thing where she's in the bathroom, right? And
yeah.
like, hey, you promised this, where it's like, even then it's like that would have been an okay pause for, like, she was okay up until that point, and then continuous outside forces are pushing and pressuring her past her comfortabilities at any point.
Yeah, she hides in the bathroom, talks to her pop idol self again, then gets sort of coaxed back out there. Back to Cham performing, and the creep is watching them perform, and he seems to see pop idol Mima appear at the performance and perform along with them. Then it almost seems like they also notice her performing with them, but then she does her little skippy floaty hop off stage.
This is what I'm super confused about, because like it was on the website saying like, hey, I'm going to be there, and then he's videotaping it, and then like it seems like you said, the crowd reacts to someone coming out on stage,
right,
and singing with. Is this just the assistant manager? I
don't think so, because I don't think that they would think that. I think what I think it is I think it's all in the creep set, the crowd's reaction and everything that makes it seem like she's really there.
Okay, I understand. All right, go the more plausible route.
I do think if it was just him, that maybe, but I don't think.
I guess the reaction would be different if like a middle-aged woman in the exact same.
I think almost everybody else
coming out would have been like, oh, huh.
So that's the end of that. Now it's the shot top down of Mima in the bathtub, and then we see her face in the bathtub, and she screams. That is the shot that's side by side perfect with Requiem for a Dream. If you're in our Discord, I dropped it. If you're not, it's on YouTube. Just perfect with Requiem for a Dream. I could not believe
shot for shot
that it was exact, like down to the editing, the cuts and everything. Like it matches up perfectly. I straight up lifted. I thought it was going to be more of a,
because that what was it, the Requiem bathroom scene is after the flashlight party, right? Is that the?
I believe so.
Okay, so it's even under the same.
It's a similar
idea.
Yeah. And Darren Aronofsky, doesn't deny it. He's like, when I was working on Requiem for a Dream, I just saw Perfect Blue, and I had this bathroom scene, and it was in my head, and that's what I did. Like straight up.
I love it when they it's nice for the admission. I mean, obviously that is a shot for shot freaking remake, but
and it is just a small thing, but it is kind of weird that it is exact. Now the creep is so now her nudie mag is out, and the creep is going around buying every copy that exists so that other people can't have it.
It's a lot of copies.
Yeah, I like the when he just puts the whole pile down, and he's sweating at the
it's like
check out. Now we see the creep in his room reading an email from pop idol Mina and talking to the pictures on the walls. She convinces him him that she is the real Mima and that the imposter
is ruining her.
Right. Even though this is, the vision we've seen, the imposter is the real Mima. But he says, I'll get rid of her. And now the pop idol Mima actually appears in his room and gives him a hug.
Yeah. Which is, God. So I do like the fact that they choose the same look and the floatiness and just how she is this like idealized version for all three of these psychotic breaks.
Mm-hmm. Me too. It's it's got to be some sort of cohesive thing, because the other thing I thought, and we'll get there, is that maybe Rumi was drugging her, and I still think there's a chance she may have been getting drugged.
Oh, yes, absolutely, especially with the time gaps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or it could be a Japanese singing demon ghost.
Could be.
Just throwing it out there.
Could be. Metamorphosis. Maybe that's what it is in the book. Don't know. Now we see... Oh, we had that happen. Mima is talking to one of the actors in the show, telling her she is scared of her other personality and what it might do. She's told illusions can't hurt her, but it's just the TV show shooting on location. And we see the creep watching. This is the first one where it really blends, like... The TV show is really mirroring what's happening. What's
going on. Now, if this isn't the scene where
they're in the rain
dialogue,
at this scene.
They're in the rain. Okay. Because I do also like the fact that like the later one where it's like they switch the wording and then it goes back to what the script says was real fucking trippy.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Kind of starting here. So Mima is she already did that. It's the TV show. The creep is watching. He scares Mima and they have to call cut. She looks back and he's gone. Chammer hosting.
God, I hate this rain.
Yeah.
It's so cold.
Chammer hosting a radio show now, and Mima comes to visit the station, but she sees the pop idol version of herself in the studio with Cham, and then chases after her through the radio station. Chases her into the street and is about to get hit by a bus when she wakes up in her room.
It is insane when she eats shit on the stairwell.
Chasing her, yeah.
Going down was like, I know it's even animated, but I literally went, oof. Ooh, I felt that one.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, God.
She has a visitor. It's Rumi. She says Mima shouldn't go to the Mima's Room website anymore, and tells her illusions can't hurt her and puts her hand on her shoulder, and suddenly she's back on set reshooting the scene from the day before when she was told illusions can't hurt her and had the hand put on her shoulder. Also, though, Rumi, the way this starts is with like tea and cake in Mima's bedroom. And I think her waking up in this room is the start of her waking up in her fake room, and that potentially she is drugging her with this tea and cake because it kind of starts every cycle.
Well, it repeats itself. Yeah. Have some cake.
Mm-hmm. But it's never, that's just something
there's a lot of like choose your own adventure kind of. I mean, we still get to the same bus stop, but there's a lot of different deviating points,
right?
Especially as like reality starts kind of just like phasing out in this as it kind of, goes on.
And I like this when after Rumi tells her the illusions can't hurt her line, and she's suddenly back on set and is like freaked out. How am I back here? And they have to call cut again. The other actor says, "Oh, this line is like a nightmare," which is just kind of fun dialogue to put there, considering everything that's going on is a nightmare.
Everything, yes, right.
They call take two, and she suddenly wakes up in her room again. Rumi is visiting again. She's like, "Oh, it's been a while, Rumi," which is exactly how it started before. But Rumi responds, "What do you mean? I was just here yesterday." Mima breaks a teacup in her hand, and there's blood running down her hands. She says, "Rumi, is it real? Like, am I bleeding?
Is this real now?"
It is.
It's also kind of interesting,
so
especially.
Broken.
Well, the dialogue is like, "All right, take two," and then take two is what's supposed to be reality. Well, what's supposed to be reality? You know what I mean? Where it's like
take two of that, right? Well, because then take three also wakes her up again. But this one, I don't know why, struck me as like one of the saddest things, is that now we see Mima reading her blog on Mima's room, being like, I went shopping and did these things. And she's like, oh, I guess I went shopping today. And it's just like,
she's
man, she is so beaten down.
Like, there's a level of method acting that I feel like you just shouldn't venture into, especially if you're playing someone with split personality disorder who's also a serial killer. You know what I mean? Like, there's a little too much method going on.
Mm-hmm. Need to step back.
Yeah.
Now, the cop show, back on the show, talking about how the murder is just an illusion she created. Maybe the illusion possessed someone, but it's just the photographer who's watching the show at his home. Yes. Pizza arrives, delivery guy stabs him in the eye, and we get a pretty brutal knife attack. Yeah.
Yes.
Hat falls off, and we see it's Mima illuminated by the projector TV, which she's illuminated by red, green, and blue.
Yes.
Then we hear take 3, and she wakes up in her room again. I'm still not sure if this was actually her, or if, because we're used to seeing a lot of this from her perspective. Of, I wonder if this scene was Rumi doing that, and Rumi thought she was Mima at the time.
Yes, that's, yeah. Well, I don't know, because the dialogue throws it off, because Stalker admits to murdering all of them. So, like, including the photographer.
Right.
So it's, I don't know, it's weird. Or he considers himself a vessel of this purity idol, whatever. So when he's killing, he's actually like being quote unquote hilariously possessed by the idolization, which is exactly what's going on in the TV show that they're doing.
Right. So it probably is a possessed, yeah.
Oh my God.
Someone.
My brain is leaking out of my ears.
We hear take 3. She wakes up in her room again. She gets a phone call that the photographer has been murdered. The murder closely resembles the last week's murder on Double Bind.
Ooh.
She finds the shopping bag in her closet, and it has the bloody clothes from the murder in it.
Isn't it like right after she does like the murder, she turns around and she's on stage?
If it is, I did not put it because because it's a take 3 and wakes up in her room again.
Oh, okay.
From that murder. Unless she's on stage real quickly and then that happens and I didn't include it. That could be too. You know, there's so much happening.
There's so much shit going on.
It's a 90-minute movie too. It really jams it in there. Shows you can do it. You can do it in 90 minutes, folks.
Yeah.
There's reporters at her door asking her about the killings. Back on set, Mima talks to Rumi and asks if it's all real or a dream. Maybe she did get hit by that truck. She is shooting a scene where someone is killed. She has to, they're like, all right, now remember to like really pant like you just killed somebody, give me more. And when they call action, she faints, wakes up in her room again. Oh, all these times that she's been waking up in her room since she got hit by the truck or did not get hit by the truck, the room is slowly filling up with more stuff and changing. It doesn't look the same as it goes. Just something people like to talk about associated with this.
It's like degrading, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it also seems like time passing.
Like the mental state of Mima and how it's getting more cluttered.
Yeah.
So she wakes up in her room again. The actress from the show is there and questions her, but she's actually like in a hospital interrogation room. And the male cop observes and says, amazing. She thinks she's some new up and coming actress named Mima. And then the other actress comes out and she's like, yeah, I don't think we'll ever see her original personality again. She thinks she's this Mima person now. And after that rape in the strip club, that changed her and like broke her personality.
This is where I was like, wait, what?
Right.
Wait, what?
Same.
Wait, what?
But they call cut and it's still part of the TV show. Double Bind is in the can. Great job, everyone. And the camera spins around Mima until she is leaving. Now she's walking out with Rumi and the actor pusher. but goes to get changed by herself. She runs into the actress who from the TV show and calls her doctor and delivers the illusion line again. And the actress tells Mima, like, illusions can't hurt you. You can stop dreaming now.
It's like,
what the fuck is going on is what it's like. Especially on the first watch. I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. That's part of why I wanted to watch it so many times.
I felt like I was in like a timey-wimey psychedelic like slip and slide throughout the entire thing. Like I wasn't peeved about it. Like I don't like, it is confusing and it is kind of like jostling, but it's not too horrendous that I wasn't disengaged, I guess, if that's the best way of putting it. You know what I mean? Because I feel sometimes it's like a razor thin line between like, okay, you can, if it's okay not to get it versus this is intentionally trying to fuck with me.
Right. Yes. I think oftentimes movies like this feel to me a bit pretentious and just there to kind of stick it to you.
Yeah. And I think having and just having how broken she is, I feel that like as these things were going on, I felt more siding with her emotions being like just confusion and like awkward. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, it made me desperation. It made me relate to her way more in these scenes where I'm like, God, yeah, if I was in those shoes, I don't know what the fuck, like you're handling it way better than I could have, because I would have fucking freaked out fucking weeks ago.
Yeah. Now alone in the hall, the creep approaches her. Rumi and the actor Pusher wait for Mima. Pusher tells Rumi Mima's next job is going to be a video movie with some smutty scenes, but what are you going to do? Creep has me. Yeah. Again, just,
God damn it, dude.
Controlling the image, forcing people to do things they probably don't want to do, but they're going to do anyway.
And at this point, he's just blowing it off because he's like, they've already passed the threshold. So he's just like, whatever. It's not as in his mind. He's like, since she did such an insane beginner actor thing, he's like, oh, this is nothing in comparison to what you've done before.
Totally. Creep has Mima on the set of the rape scene and appears ready to act it out. Turns out he has been the killer all along. They fight. He appears to get the upper hand and become a successful rapist till she grabs a hammer and hits him in the side of the head. Ka-chong.
Oh, and then just like this, again, life imitating art, imitating life, imitating art, imitating life. It's like the entire thing is about to happen and you just go like, God fucking damn it. Because like, again, I think because all the warnings that I had about this movie where I'm like, oh my God, the first one was like a red herring. So like now we're actually unfortunately going to sit through a rape scene. You know what I mean? And I thought that it was like kind of, I don't know, to me, chef's kiss in the fact of like in the acting one, there's this awkward, weird pause that happens because they have to reshoot. And in the real one, I was pleasantly surprised when she stuck a fucking hammer on the side of his head because it created an also very weird, awkward pause in the middle of something terrible.
And he was kind of in the same position too.
He's the exact same position where I'm like, God, fucking Jesus. Does this come with a field manual?
Say I'm sorry. Needs one. Rumi finds Mima. Mima takes her to the set, but the creep is gone. His body's not there. In the car, we see Rumi's reflection ask Mima if she is all right. It's Rumi is actually doing it, but we see it through her reflection. Yeah. She asks Mima if she is all right and tells her, we're going back to Mima's room. This is the first time she calls it Mima's room. Mima wakes up in her room again. Rumi is there and she calls the actor Pusher, but he's dead in what seems like a prop house. And if his body didn't slump over here next to the dead creep, I could think that maybe the creep was not real this whole time ever. But because they show his body with like a stabbed out eye too.
Yes.
I'm like, all right, he must have been real.
He must have done this. Yeah. But it's also interesting. It's like, God, did he take out the manager? I'm assuming no, he didn't. In that Rumi, I keep on thinking Rumi, but it's not.
Rumi. Yeah.
Rumi. Yeah, Rumi. I'm assuming at this point, Rumi took out Pusher.
Oh, yeah. I think absolutely. I agree. And I think I don't think I mentioned it, but we found out the emails that he had been getting from actually, no, I think that comes in Rumi's confession. So we'll get there. Yeah. She wakes up in her room. Rumi is there. We find out about the guy being dead. And then Mima notices the fish in her tank are alive. What in the hell is going on? What is real? And the Champ poster is back on her wall that she took down before. What is going on? She opens her curtains, which I don't think we've seen open since she closed them when she thought someone was looking in her room early in the movie. And it's a different view. This isn't her room. Oh, no.
Yeah. Oh, fuck. My heart sank when I realized that she realized that I also realized. I was like, oh, God damn it. And then the slow turnaround.
Yeah. Rumi comes out in a wig dressed as pop idol Mima. Now Rumi's physical form is the Mima pop idol form, except for when we see her reflection. So for
which is like reality,
right? So for this sort of penultimate scene or climax scene, that's the view the audience has. Rumi attacks Mima and stabs her in the shoulder. Mima escapes. She tries climbing over to like a balcony, but she ends up having to throw herself on the neighboring roof.
Okay, so this entire sequence where she's hopping from roof to roof, and then we look back, running,
yeah,
is now the hop, just the ethereal pop idol hopping from like gingerly from thing to thing, and then I'm just picturing in my head in reality, it's just Rumi. Completely sweaty and like breathing heavily, like the Soul Station zombies, hawking herself from rooftop to rooftop, trying to chase after her. Like the amount of cardio that you would need to try to follow her. Like, I'm surprised she didn't break every bone in her body.
I do love the reflection we get of her running a little bit later. Did you notice the music in this scene? I really like the score in this scene. It's got this weird like humming thing going on where it's like I can't do it at all, but really like the song for this. They scuffle and fall into the street. Mima runs screaming for help as Pop Idol gracefully chases, and we see the reflection of Rumi sweating it out.
Oh,
pouring down her face.
I
like
love
tongue
this.
hanging out.
I love the juxtaposition of both of those, where it's like, because it's also this weird, like at this point, shared psychosis, because like she's seeing herself in this idolized form,
right?
Chasing her, yeah.
And as the audience, there's been so much going on, you don't know where to stand. I think it's also helpful just to be like, no, this is Rumi. Like, see, here's the reflection.
Yeah. Surrealistic. This movie is insanely surrealistic, especially the end of it.
What is real?
What is
Rumi stabs Mima with an umbrella, Scream style. Yes. Mima keeps running, but she gets cornered in front of a big mirror window and dodges Rumi stabbing her, which causes the window to break. Now Rumi is choking Mima against a wall with an umbrella. They argue, and Mima says, "You're the imposter," and snatches her wig, throws it through the broken window. Panicked and wigless, Rumi dives for the wig and practically impales herself on the broken window.
It's so funny to me that her weakness, just like the grabber, is that you just have to remove one article of the costume. And then it's just a shit show. Like, it's literally like the wig was it. And you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's part of, well, I mean, who knows when think you're someone else.
Yeah. I do like the fact that after she stabs herself, she grabs the wig and then puts it on and then like kind of becomes her again as that's staggering out into the road.
Yeah. And then when she looks back, and she's like wiped her bloody hand across her face.
Yeah.
I just really love that imagery as Pop Idol Mima. That happens. Rumi Idol there's a truck barreling down at her. She kind of is embracing that she's going to get hit by a truck, stands up, puts her arms out. But real Mima dives, kind of gets him out of the way. They both seem to get kind of clipped tossed,
a little bit,
but they're not, full on smacked by a truck, and the guys get out of the car to get medical attention. Actually, this third time it made me laugh. I was watching the English dub, and one of the guys is like, call the police. No, call an ambulance. And the other guy says, I know. And that really tickled me.
You just watched Super Good. I'm aware that I should probably call that.
Now, Mima, slow fade out on the city to the sound of sirens. Now, Mima has brought Rumi flowers to some sort of psych ward. The dog tells her the Rumi personality occasionally returns. Mima says, I don't expect to ever see her again. Rumi goes to a mirror and sees the reflection of pop idol Mima in it. Now Mima is leaving, and some nurses are gossiping about her. Oh, is that Mima? Oh no, it couldn't be. She would never be in a place like this. Couldn't be her. Mima gets in her car, takes off her sunglasses, looks at the camera through the rearview mirror, and says, "No, I'm the real thing."
I just love how upbeat the Japanese anime endings are in a lot. We're just like sunglasses off, rearview mirror, and I like
looks at the audience, like, breaks the fourth wall. I'm sure you're confused. I'm real.
I'm real. It's okay, guys.
And does that also mean she has agency now? Like, obviously, there's a lot that could be read into there. I think it, for one, definitely plays into the audience. Is probably a lot of people who are left confused and want to at least know where
it also
we finish.
Throws in this like final girl kind of like she has come out the end of this a stronger person. And I think that's kind of like conveyed where it's like, because it gives the illusion, especially through the dialogue of the nurses and stuff, that like she's a big actress now.
Yeah. And I wish I had the exact lines. I wish I wrote it down, because the one that I can't think of is also really relevant to the, they say it can't be her. It's just somebody who looks like her. Which, you know, plays into all the themes of the movie.
As they all just point to their noses. On the nose.
Do you have any final thoughts before we move on?
Yes, but I'm going to save all of them because I need to watch this movie another 100 times and then write a master's thesis.
Yeah.
And then we can get back to it.
I hit all my points that I wanted to hit, I think. I mean, I could do another episode on this, but let's go ahead and take that break and move on. Here we are at the crematorium of questions. Let's go ahead and do it. How would we survive this one?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty clear how we survive this one. We don't break up the band. Yeah. We can't ever break up Chuddle the Pod, because if we do, one of our fans may try to mercilessly kill whoever leaves.
Perfect. Oh, and that's another thing, but obviously there's plenty of instances in real life of fans killing artists over various reasons.
Or themselves, or, you know, it was kind of interesting, the dialogue at the end of the movie where she's like, well, I found this guy and like he didn't do the job, so I guess I can just find another one to do it for me. Where I'm like, oh, fuck. Mm-hmm. Like literally just like manipulating a pool of fanatics.
Yeah.
Is just like,
it's I mean, that's kind of, I won't spoil who it is, I guess, but kind of in Scream 5, the killers met online. And
yes.
Actually, in Scream 2.
Also.
Yeah. And one
was a serial killer chat room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would you make the film gooier? It could be gooier, I think, for what the film is, the amount of blood and gore we get is right. I would have to keep with the stylistic aspect of this movie, you could make it gorier. You could have like the elevator doors open on the scriptwriter and see that scene, but then juxtapose really brief, insanely intense, violent scenes in between it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
where
like cut it into it.
Cut it into it. You know what I mean? Like, in normal circumstances, like, yeah, just give me intestines, throw a bunch of blood around. But in this one, I feel like you could make it gooier, but you'd have to make it artistically gooier, because I feel like it would stick out like a sore thumb if it was just overly violent, you know?
Yeah, definitely. Villain level 1 through 10. I guess we'll make the villain Rumi as opposed to like society or the fame machine.
We can do, it's kind of like a
relationships.
Well, it's kind of like a Master Blaster kind of thing. So like I would do Stalker and Rumi together, you know?
We can, you really got to do one at a time. So pick one.
All right. Well, I mean, obviously Stalker
both if you want.
Yeah, but I do both. I mean, I would say power level for both of them. I would maybe give.
Do it individually. Just do each of them.
Each one of them. Okay. Yeah. All right. So for Stalker, I would give for power level 2. I mean, it's a human being. It's nothing super insane, even with like being a maniac. He was still taken out with a hammer. And then iconography, I probably give him like a 2.5 just because he is like disfigured. Like I will kind of remember.
I think his iconography is strong.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, but again, it's still, I would still maybe give it like a 2.5. Maybe you could convince me for a 3, but nothing super crazy with that.
Yeah, I'd go 3 on that, and low on the first one, 1.5. Yeah. I don't, whatever regular man is on our scale, that's the number.
Yeah, exactly. And then for Rumi, honestly, it kind of goes same thing. Human power level and her iconography.
Unless you count, because I would consider the pop idol different than her. So
it's I don't know. I mean, as much as I like the juxtaposition scenes, it's literally just like a woman cosplaying as a pop idol running around with an umbrella. So like I don't know, maybe like a 1 or a 2 for her. I don't know.
I agree. Should it have a sequel? What is your sequel? I don't think it needs a sequel. I don't want a sequel. I don't even want to try and force a sequel upon it.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of this like really plays to like Giallos, where like it has a very distinct beginning and middle and end. Like it is so finely tuned as an ending point where it's like it doesn't need one. I mean, you could maybe do something that's like coinciding.
I mean, Rumi can break out and start haunting her again, or
stalking another girl. Oh, no, and then like but you don't need it. I think it's just a cool story in and of itself, and then anything outside of it is like I don't think it's gonna help a franchise.
Would you buy the soundtrack or score on vinyl?
Oh, for sure,
I would. Yeah, absolutely. I want those songs, the Cham songs, and I want at least the one song in the score that I mentioned.
That's so funny. For me, it's like I could do without the Cham songs, but the actual like musical score going on is great. I would like a Cham in like a 7-inch. Like if you would like get it as independent pressing of it, you know what I mean? Like I might be.
It's not like I don't want to listen to them casually, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's not like they're going to work my way into Spotify, but to have them on as part of the perfect blue vinyl, I do want them. Is anything action figure worthy? I would take Pop Idol Mima. It's not like, I would say nothing demands a action figure, but I would take them.
Yeah.
Same with
I think Pop Idol the creep. Mima is like, I would lean more creep. The only reason I say that is that like if I had a statue of Mima, like I couldn't. Same thing with the Vampire Hunter D. If you had her as this character and then just 6 other anime statues of just like short skirts and other weird like pop, you know what I mean? Like I couldn't differentiate them. I'd have to have something that's like specific. I think it would probably
be. I feel like I would be like, oh, that's Pop Idol Mima from Perfect Blue instantly.
Right. I would almost do something where it's like Pop Idol, but like it'd have to have like a 90-degree cut back on the back of it, and then like the reflection of Rumi. You know what I mean? Where like Rumi. So it's like a statue, but in the background, it looks, you know what I mean? It gives the same impression.
What merch prop promo item do you want from the film? None of that exists. I want the original 35 millimeter print that got destroyed. Right.
I would get, if this was real and I could pull something out of the anime, I would probably do Oh, man. Oh, okay. Either the hammer that cracks the dude's skull would be a fun one, or honestly, the fax that just has traitor in Japanese 1,000 times.
Oh, that'd be cool. Yeah. I'd want maybe the big body pizza box.
Ooh.
And if I could get a frame or animated, I don't know how it was done, but the elevator open with the guy and his eyes missing all the blood.
Yes. Absolutely.
Cool. And popcorn bucket for this one.
You know what? I don't know if I want to have a popcorn bucket for something I got to reach my hands into.
Okay.
With this one.
I'm going Mima's room.
Like a replica of a room?
Just make it a computer.
Oh, yeah.
Or something like, reflective.
That would be great. You have to look at your own face and then, yeah.
Mm-hmm, exactly. All right. Well, with that part done, we can go ahead and check out our fingers.
I only want your fingers.
Should we all, cut our fingers open and bleed on it?
Can you wrap your fingers around this?
I'll take a Voorhees burger and a slide of Jason's fingers.
Show them.
All right. On this show, we use a rating scale of 0 to 5 fingers. Each finger represents a different quality about a movie. You can chop off half a finger as well as no fingers or a quarter finger. We mix it up. These ratings are intended to be subjective on how we feel about a movie. Does not matter if the movie is objectively good or bad. Ross, why don't you go first?
Okay. All right. So engaging is going to get the 1. I think it's that default because I think there's so much stuff going on in this movie that you have to be engaged. If you disengage from this movie, you're just turning it off.
You're gonna be like, what's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
And if you're doing that even if you are paying attention.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, no, it got the whole 1 for me. Sticky, man, I think Sticky's gonna get a 0.75. There's a lot of stuff in this. Fuck it. No, I'm just going to give the whole 1 because I think artistically too. I think it's the art style that I really enjoy. The head trip I thoroughly enjoyed because I felt like you said, it wasn't trying to be pretentious. I felt more on the side of our characters more than feeling isolated as an audience member.
Sure.
And just visually, it's fucking awesome and great and weird, T-shirtable. T-shirtable is going to be a tough one. I'm going to say T-shirtable is going to be a 0.5 for me. I would wear a perfect blue shirt. It would just have to be the right one.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that's just because I don't gravitate towards a lot of anime. So to have anime on a T-shirt for me would take a lot. Perfect blue would constitute a shirt for sure. There's a lot of, honestly, I would love to have a black or a charcoal gray shirt that just has the center of it as the opened elevator with the dude slumped.
Oh yeah.
And then just have perfect blue in
underneath.
Blood, bleeding out from the elevator.
Cool.
Would be fucking awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's so weird. With a name like Perfect Blue, I wouldn't want anything on the shirt to be blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So grays and weird. Obviously there might be.
Right. But not a blue shirt.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no. Yeah. So I'd say 0.5. That might wiggle around too. I think it's also I don't even want to say because of all the warnings I got about the movie from so many different people while seeing it, is that and I don't mean this in the way it's probably going to come out, but it's I couldn't give it a full 1 because I feel sometimes when knowing the precursors, now that I've seen it, it's over, but I'm I don't want to come off as an edgelord by wearing a perfect blue fucking T-shirt when the connotation of the movie is particularly for the 2 rape scenes. You know what I mean? Where it's
right.
Then I'm I don't want to fucking sport that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to be edgy. It's a good film. And I think honestly, in comparison, in the auspice of 97 versus now, when we have films like Irreversible and other things like this, this is a lot tamer. I was pleasantly surprised on how tame this was, because particularly with like the precursors for it. But again, but I've seen it. Again, people who haven't seen it and just heard about it, if I'm wearing a fucking Perfect Blue shirt, might just be. I
mean, I'm sure it's still, there are people who still think it is really.
It is. I think it is. You know what I mean? It just depends on how, like, what movies you've seen. You know, I mean, like, you know, we've been in circles where it's like, oh, this is like Gauntlet movies. Like, how much are you willing to endure? Right. You know what I mean? To go through and watch a movie, you know? Okay. Back off my rant. Sorry. Cockles. Cockles is going to be, I think Cockles is going to be a 0.75. Mm-hmm. It rocks them. It really does. You know what I mean? Even for like an anime. And I'm not saying it because it's an anime. It's just not my favorite genre of things to watch. You know what I mean? But I mean, like, God, it's like, it's giallo. It's a Japanese giallo to me. And I think they did it well. And on top of that, like, it's a mind melt too, in the best ways possible. I feel like I'm going to be revisiting this. And then like Rewatchable is going to be, probably the same thing. I think it's going to be a 0.75. Again, it's because of the crazy edgy scenes that are in it. I don't think this is going to be like an immediate watch for like certain friend groups and things like that. You know what I mean? Right. But I think it's something I probably would revisit if I'm like revisiting other animated horror movies, or like, you know, if I'm in the weird mood to be watching anime, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. All right. So that gives you a 4 out of 5. How does that feel?
I feel like it should be more, but I don't know what to get, you know. No, I'm going to leave it at a 4. Sure. You know what I mean? Like in my head, I had it between like a 4 to a 4.5. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I should give it a 2.5 somewhere. But you know what? I give a 2.5 to
a 2.5 or a 0.25?
0.25. Sorry. I'm growing fingers at this point. Fuck it. Let's go to let's just go to Rewatchable, because I'll just give that the full 1.
Give it a 1.
Why not?
Cool. Yeah. 4.25. That brings it over to moi. And engaging's a 1, again, because you really got to fucking pay attention, especially once you get to the second half of the movie. Yeah. Obviously, if you've seen it before, it's okay to to be a little distracted because you know what's going on. Yes. But on first watch, for sure, just glued. Sticky is a 1. I haven't been able to stop thinking about this movie since the first time I saw it. It's a
lot to digest.
Yeah, I'm not sure
in a good way.
Yeah. Ultimately, as far as how much I'm going to remember everything, I don't really know, but I've really liked thinking about it and enjoyed that process. So full 1 there. T-shirtable, I'm going to give it the 1 because the only reason why I wouldn't is because of the connotations thing, which you touched on. Yes. Yeah. So even though I guess in reality, I'm not sure if I would get one or wear one. Yeah. That's because I'm letting society dictate me, and how I'm letting their perceptions of me dictate what I do. Your
comfortability,
which again ties back to the movie. But so I'm gonna go ahead and give it the 1 there. Cockles is a weird one. I'm going to give it a 0.75. Okay, because the overall experience really rocked my cockles. Mm-hmm. But in general, or the only reason I'm taking 0.25 is because it's about a pop idol. Like it's not about something that has any interest for me at all.
Totally.
Which I think actually speaks a lot, I guess, to how good it is if, you know, I feel great about it, and it's about, like, if you just told me it's about a pop idol who tries to be an actress, I'd be like, I'm not interested.
Yes, exactly.
And then Rewatchable's getting the 1, and it kind of ties back to the stickiness. It's like I want to rewatch it to answer the questions I have about it. if that makes sense.
Oh, for sure. You know what I mean? I think that like part of this,
it's a fun one to think about.
It's almost like David Lynchy in the fact of where it's like this movie could be, this is like a choose your own adventure of how you're getting there, because there's so many different ideas and logics that could be put into this that, again, reflect upon yourself. Whatever you're putting in, it reflects back onto you.
Wow. Reflections.
Reflections, man.
Mirror to society.
God.
Would you, I believe we got a text from
we did.
Guy.
Yes.
So unfortunately, he was supposed to be here. Obviously, he was here a little, but unfortunately, didn't really work out, which is a shame. Would have loved to have you here for the talk, buddy.
So his rating is as follows. Engaging. 1, fully engaged, incredibly well made, and the surreal nature grips me. Yeah, I like that a lot. Sticky. 1, I've been thinking about this movie a bit since the first viewing, and I like thinking about its message.
Oh.
I totally agree. You know what I mean? I think that's the funniest thing about this is that like I agree with Brian. Like I'm going to remember more about the intrinsic messages of this than specific scenes.
And there's so many different
messages that you can kind of get out of it.
Take from it. Yeah. And ways to view it.
T-shirtable 0.75. There is so much beautiful imagery you could use for a shirt. I think my only issue inherently is the inherent stigma that may come from wearing a perfect blue shirt. Nailed it. Yep. Exactly. It's like again, man, it's like what society thinks of like this movie versus like the movie, and then like what you think about it, about thinking, you know?
Definitely, man.
Definitely, man. Cockles. 1, I really enjoyed this and certainly a lot more than I thought I would. Rewatchable, 0.75. It has so much going on that multiple viewings could produce different experiences. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, it was like if you're watching, it depends on like what kind of cinema lenses you have going on that day. You could probably
what version of you is watching it that day?
Yes. 4.5 out of 5. There you go.
4.5 out of 5. Excellent. So I am going to see what the club has to say.
Okay.
Nobody had seen it, which kind of shocked me considering, you know, kind of everybody knows about it and so highly regarded, or nobody that chimed in had seen it.
For as many as people recommended it, nobody had actually seen it, which is very funny to me sometimes when we have Patreon picks and then they pick the movie and then we go like, "Hey, give us your rating on it." And they're like, "Well,
I know there are some people
we wanted you to see it."
Yeah, I know there are some people who have seen it that didn't chime in, but T-Boo made a point to watch it just to give a rating.
Nice.
And here we are. We appreciate you. But I think he did that for a couple, maybe all the anime ones, actually. He says, engaging, 0.75. I was distracted by some things in the plot itself that made me use my phone to dig up information. Otherwise, I was into the story. Sticky, 0.5. I'll have to answer this honestly later down the line. For right now, I know I'll remember being mad that Mima couldn't just be an actress and a pop idol. Looking into it, I found nothing to just suggest she couldn't be both. Really would have solved the whole issue. T-shirtable, 0. I'm good. Cockles, 1. I really like where the story goes and the disturbed mind angle it takes. I'm also going to give it up to the twist it took. I'm also going to give it up to the twist it took. Didn't see that coming. Rewatchable, 0.5. I'd rewatch it. Would rather watch it with someone so we could chit chat about the plot unfolding. And I agree with that.
Yeah.
Part of why I got so interested in it is I knew we were going to talk about it, and it just seemed like there's a lot on the bone.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
We're still leaving a lot on there.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I feel that you could probably have a bunch of people that have seen this before, but like, hey, you want to get into Perfect Blue tonight? And then have a bunch of people come over and then literally have like a a theology discussion. You know what I mean? Like basically there's so many routes you could take with this that like you could have an interesting conversation while this is the background where it's like it's in the background, but you wound up watching like half of it and then discussing stuff for the rest.
Yeah, the party is based around the movie itself.
Yeah. Except if no one's seen it, you're like, hey, we're having this Perfect Blue party.
So That puts him at 2.75 out of 5. He says it feels a little low, so we'll give it a 3 out of 5 and call it good there. He's throwing a 90s computer at the screen for the midnight show. Nice. All right, let's see what our total club score is. 4.5 out of 5.
4.5 out of 5. Damn.
That is a very solid score and actually matches last week. Vampire Hunter D was also a 4.5.
4.5. Surprisingly, I guess we really like anime.
Yeah. And the obviously that puts it in the Chuddle Club crypt.
It does.
Other 4.5s, Bride of Chucky, Scare Package, Halloween 78, Black Phone, The Ring, and Fresh. We have stuff like Gremlins and Night of the Living Dead just below at 4.4, just above at 4.6, Dawn of the Dead and Mads. So, I mean, anything that gets in the crypt is going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
It's always in good company. And that does it. We did it.
That does. Hey, we did
Perfect
it.
Blue. Perfect Goo.
Yeah. Perfect Goo.
Brian, sorry you couldn't be here, boo. We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah.
That does it for the Chuddle the Pod Horror Movie Club meeting for tonight. Follow Chuddle the Pod on Instagram and Threads to stay up to date with the podcast. Follow at Ross Purvis on Instagram if you want to see his tattoos, see his art, spend monies with him. You can follow all three of us, Chuddle the Ross, Chuddle the Sam, and Chuddle the Brian with a Y on Letterboxd if you have any interest in the movies we're watching. And please jump into our Discord if you want to participate in the show or just be part of the community. We have a pretty good active group in there.
Yeah.
Just to make it easy for you, all of that, there is a link in the show description. Ross, thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks.
Brian,
for having me.
Thank you for trying, bud.
Yeah.
We miss you.
We love you.
And until next time, avoid the time loop.